Chapter 14. Simon watched Zoe from the shadows. He slipped from tree to bush to fence, but always he kept his distance. How pretty her legs are, he thought. How beautiful her long dark hair, like Bess in that poem about the highwayman. Yet he dropped the thought quickly, remembering how Bess died to save her love. It made him feel uncomfortable. She awoke poetry in him, though. She walks in beauty, he whispered. He smiled. A car drove by slowly, and he faded into a mist. She turned the corner, and he drifted across the lawn to follow. He felt fuzzy, as he always did when he dissolved. It was hard to maintain a purpose that way. I can't allow myself to drift tonight, he decided, and reached out his mind to draw his scattered molecules together, seamlessly condensing into a pale boy in graceful motion behind a trellised fence. Then he knew Christopher was there, ahead of him. He couldn't see the boy at first, and he started to panic. Then a movement in the trees caught his eye. A bat, up where she wouldn't see. Bats use sonar. He cursed silently and drifted apart again. It wouldn't catch him now. I hope he doesn't stay that way long, Simon thought as the numb apathy began to build. He sensed Zoe's quick pace quickening. She knows. Slow down. He'll guess. Slow down. The last thought echoed around him, and Simon began to slow himself, started to drift. Ah, the sparkling night. Why don't I drift up to the stars? No, I must follow. Follow who? The girl. What girl? I think I shall scatter and sparkle like frost. No, a voice of reason called distantly. Christopher, hissed a quiet memory. The warning ran from molecule to molecule and pulled them together with the same purpose. It molded him back into a boy. He crouched by a parked Volvo. Around the bumper he could see the park across the street. Two boys passed, smoking cigarettes and punching each other with the blows of comrades. They disappeared around the corner. He had gotten ahead of Zoe, but he could see her coming up the other side of the street. He could only hope that Christopher had not sensed a suspicious mist drifting out of tune with the night. If Zoe could lead Christopher into the park, and all would be well. If she could only get to the other side of the pit, stop as if dreaming to lure him out and entice him to approach her. Oh, poor little boy, she could say, and call him across the trap to his death. A dark form flittered beneath the streetlights over Zoe's head. She didn't look up, but Simon saw her flinch at as the shadow cast on the street. Don't look. Don't let him know. Her fists were clenched tight, but she didn't even glance. Simon could hear the ping-pings of Zoe. The ping-pings Zoe couldn't. The high-pitched squeal that bounced through the air and fell out shapes and movement in the night. He dared not move, lest he attract Christopher. Then the bat was ahead of Zoe. It dipped around a tree and disappeared. And at the park, a small boy stepped from the bushes out onto the sidewalk. He carried a knapsack over his shoulder. A teddy bear poked its head out from under the unbuckled strap. The boy waited for Zoe with anticipation on his face. Simon bared his teeth and growled softly at the back of his throat. Damn his eyes. He couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't follow her farther. Did he know? Zoe reached the park, and Christopher walked up to her, the knapsack bumping his thigh. Zoe looked startled. Don't give it away, Simon begged. He's just a boy to you, remember? He raised a hand to his mouth and worried a nail. Damn, damn, damn. They talked. Simon could not quite hear what they said, even with ears acutely tuned for the hunt. It was too far to make out words, and it nearly drove him crazy. Perhaps Christopher's words gave him away. Perhaps he did know her. Zoe wouldn't be able to tell, but Simon could if he could only hear. Zoe walked into the park with Christopher, offering her hand. Good girl. Brave girl. Her smile looked strained to him, but Simon suspected Christopher did not care enough about humans to tell a false smile from a true. Simon followed carefully at a distance as they traveled from the path to the center of the park. It was the right direction, and he dared to hope. But they stopped in the dark of a wide-spreading tree. Not here, Simon pleaded silently. Don't stop here. The moonlight didn't penetrate the shadows, and he could only see shady forms. Don't look into his eyes, he thought. Remember what I said. I'll have you. If you do that, get out of there. Get out. Yet they stared there in the dark as if in eternity, and Simon wanted to howl. This was all wrong. He had to go to her. He took the risk and eased himself through the night. If I can get close, I can jump him, he thought. The figures were clearer the closer he got, and he saw the small form holding up something to the girl. Then he was close enough to hear the chirping voice. "This is Teddy. He's lost too. Kiss Teddy and make it better." Zoe bent to the child closer and closer into the reach of those greedy hands. He would grasp her hair, expose her throat. He would have her. Simon tensed to spring. "Oh, what a lovely bear!" Zoe cried, and snatched the toy from Christopher. He tottered back a step, and Simon held motionless in shock. What was she doing? "Give me my bear," Christopher said, recovering. Zoe held it out of his reach. "I'm just looking." "Give me my bear," Christopher said more forcefully. She laughed. It sounded forced to Simon. "What's wrong? Can't take a joke?" She backed away a few steps, and Christopher advanced on her, his fist clenched. "Give it back," he almost used the command tone, but stopped short, still playing the helpless child. "Come on, don't you want to play?" she asked, backing away faster. "If you want it, come get it." She turned and burst from the shadows, holding in front of her the bedraggled teddy bear. Christopher let out a cry of rage and rushed out behind her, panic on his face. Simon grinned and punched the air in glee. "Go, Zoe, go." She just might do it. He wanted to cheer. She headed toward the gazebo. "Come on," she called. "You're no fun." Simon felt like laughing. Christopher didn't dare go lightning fast and grab it back because that would give his game away. He still thought he had a chance. He didn't know. He played the helpless little boy running after his beloved Teddy, outraged by the teasing. Simon hoped he hadn't sewn up that hole, that his precious soil was falling out all over this alien dirt. Simon followed eagerly, hurting them with his wishes. The quiet, long habit took no effort, and soon he became daring. Since Christopher had eyes only for his bear, sometimes Simon crossed moonlight, briefly startling against the night. He wanted to keep up. Zoe dodged around the gazebo, up the steps on one side, and down those on the other side. There were 4 set of steps. She used all but the one on the pit side, and Christopher chased her frantically, picking up speed gradually, casting aside the pretense. Soon he would be too enraged to care. He flung aside the knapsack that hindered his pace. It was a dark park, a late night. He'd strike quick and abandon the game. Zoe was panting, and her face was white, as if the frost were tearing her throat. Dodge here, duck there, slowing down, and Christopher, on short, pudgy legs, moved faster, bouncing from step to step across the hollow boards. No fatigue on his face, only anger and growing bloodlust. "Can't catch me," Zoe shouted between ragged breaths, and headed across the gazebo again to the other side, the side she had not gone down yet, the side with the pit. Simon raced around the bushes almost on all fours, and flung himself down in the dried leaves. He could see from here. Zoe hit the top of the steps with a burst of speed. Suddenly she was in the air. "Oh, Zoe, don't jump too short." A picture of her, broken and pierced, flashed through his mind. His hands went to his throat to cover his horror. Christopher was at the top of the steps. Zoe was flying through the air, and Simon felt frozen in time. He half rose. Christopher, ready to run down the steps and snatch her, stopped. He had seen movement. His eyes focused in and found Simon, poised half free from the ground. Zoe rolled to safety as Simon and Christopher stared at each other, Simon in shock, Christopher in disdain. Simon rose slowly, completing the journey to his feet. Zoe lay gasping on the grass, clutching the teddy bear to her like a talisman. "What is your trick, Simon?" came the clear child's voice, harder than any child's. "Have you a game afoot? Is this your slut?" He laughed when he saw Simon's eyes flash to anger. "Yes, how foolish I've been. I must be getting old. Where were you leading me, Simon?" Simon relaxed a little inwardly, but he wouldn't let Christopher see this. "That's for you to find out." Christopher didn't guess about the pit. Just a few short steps from him, there was hope. "Shall I ask the girl?" Christopher's fangs glinted as he leered. Simon wanted to hurt that face, slash it, rip it. His brother brought an unreasoning hate alive in him. It boiled inside him and made it hard for him to think. Caught in his anger, he didn't see the change right away.